we're going to pull together quite a few different pieces of scripting that we've looked at within this particular exercise. So I have the consultant evaluation form -mail doc open, and there's an email button down at the bottom of this form, and I'll double click it. The button just says button 4, so I'm going to change it to email as the name, and I'll close that up. Now what I want to be able to do with this button is let the users fill out the form. And notice this isn't really a form at the moment, but I'm not going to worry about that. They can fill out the form and they can click this button to email this form to somewhere. Now the somewhere is the interesting part, because what we're going to do is prompt them to tell us where they want it to be emailed. So it'll pull quite a few different pieces together that we've done. Let's take a look at how to do this. Now here is my button, and I'll double click it, go over to the actions area, and what I'm going to do in this area is not submit a form. What I'm going to do instead is run JavaScript, and I'm going to write out my own code to submit the form. And along the way, it's going to be doing some things and interacting with the user to gather some information. So I'll click Add, and here is where my JavaScript script is going to go. And I'll make this a little bit smaller. Now, the first thing we want to do is create a variable called send form. And what we're going to do is make that an alert. Whoops, app.alert. So what I'm going to do is ask the user a question. So I'm going to tell them, you clicked the submit button. And I'm going to use something known as an escape sequence within JavaScript. It's a \n\n. And that represents a new line. So we'll set that up. So within our alert, we're concatenating. We're going to make 2 lines of text. And we're going to say, are you sure you want to submit the form? Sure you want to submit the form. There we go. We'll ask them that question. And the buttons we're going to pop up are 2, 2, and the last piece, our label, is going to say submit validation. We should be all set with our alert. So let's go ahead and run that. I like to run this in pieces since we're going to be doing a few different things together. And you can see the mouse up event triggers this particular window. Here's my submit validation label. Here's my first sentence. Here is my /n, creating an open area, and another /n moves it down. You can think of that as the new line characters. I plugged in a question mark, and I get a yes or no as the buttons. Now what we're going to do is add some scripting to deal with the yes and no. Right now, I don't have anything attached. So we'll keep adding to this. And I'll go back to my JavaScript, and I like this nice clean window. It's easier for you to see what's going on. I'm going to create a message, and my message is going to say, this is actually going to become the email message, please find my consultant evaluation form. I'll put a period, and there we go. So that's our message. Now the next piece we want to plug in, and we're just defining that so it can go into the email a bit easier. We're going to add a conditional statement, and a conditional statement always determines if a condition is true or not. And what we want to do is we want to go back up here to our send form, and we want to determine if they clicked the yes or the no button. So I'm going to say if send form equals, meaning is it exactly matching the number 4? And that means the yes button. And if that's the case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a send where piece. And this is going to be app.response. So that is another method of the app object. And what we're going to do here is plug in some information. So I need some curly brackets. And we're going to say CMSG. And the first thing we want is where do you want to send? Where do you want to send the form? So that's our first message. Then we're going to add C title. Where should the form be sent? So that is going to add a title. The next piece is going to be C label. And that is going to say email address. And this is the little bit of text that goes in front of the open area for the user to fill in. So we'll prompt them for that and plug it into the send where variable. Now it's just a matter of actually sending the email. So this is the new section. And to do that, we're going to say this dot, that represents the object at this point in time. And we're going to say mail doc. And mail doc is another method. And this is one that triggers an email system. So instead of using the submit form built into Acrobat, we can do some things surrounding the button to submit the form. We're not even using the submit form action. So we're going to do within this area, oh, and I forgot my curly brackets. Easy to forget those. What we're going to be adding is BUI of true. We're going to do C2. These are all properties available to the mail doc method, send where, and that one will be our app response up above. This will be C subject. So this is going to be the actual subject in the email. So consultant evaluation. And the last piece is CMSG, and that's going to be our message variable from up above. So if this is a little bit confusing, don't get too concerned. We'll actually go run it, and we'll see what happens. Now that's my if. I'm going to add an else as well. So if they didn't click the yes button, then what I'm going to do is app.alert, and I'm going to pop up a message that says, please continue with the form. There we go. So my if is right in this area. If they did not click the yes button, then obviously they clicked the no button. So an alert will pop up. First off, let's just make sure this is working. I'll let you see it, and then we can come back and reanalyze the code. I think once you've seen it run, it's a little bit easier to understand what's going on. So I go to click this email evaluation. I click on it, and it says submit validation. Here's my question mark and my yes and no. Are you sure you want to submit the form? I will click yes, I want to submit it. Now notice what happens. My if condition saw that I have the yes clicked, and it popped up this response box where I plug in my email address. So I'll plug in an email address, click OK, and it's going to trigger my default email application, which is Outlook. I'll click continue, and there's my email, and we'll ignore that message. So you can see my email was plugged in. My subject line goes here. The form itself, the entire PDF, was attached as an attachment, And I even have some content within the message area of the email. So let's go look at that code once more to determine the sequence. And this is one you'll want to take some time to look over. So we created a send form variable when we popped up an alert. And that send form is just plugging in the information from the alert. And the alert box is adding a yes or a no button to the alert. We're filling out the message that's going to go inside the email right here into a variable just to make it easier to work with down in this area. Then, now that the alert has popped up, the user has to click yes or no. If they click yes, because we put this into a variable, we can test against the variable. If they clicked yes, then we're going to pop up a response box asking them where they want to send the form, and it's an open area where they can type in an email. That will be assigned as the send where variable. Then this is the piece that's actually creating the email and sending it out. So this .mailDoc, maildoc, and that has to be a capital D, is a method that allows you to actually create an email and send the email out through the default email system. If they did not click yes, obviously they clicked no, and an alert will pop up telling them to continue with the form. So that is quite a bit put all together, but really the only new section is this one line here. And it's just showing you the maildoc method. And within that, what we're doing is populating these various items within that method. And that is what's actually creating the email and filling it out. So it's all set to go to the default email system for that computer, or you can even set it up to go out to the internet and put it into the email there. So this is one you'll want to spend some time on, making sure you understand how this works. But this piece pulls together a lot of the concepts we've done within this section of the course and makes it very useful. This is a great way to set up a form submittal. It allows us to run code instead of just submitting the form. We can run some code, ask some questions, interact with the user, make some decisions, and then, based on what they say, determine if that form should be submitted or not. But that is submitting form data to a dynamic email address. It's dynamic because the user actually types it in right at that moment in time. We call that at runtime, when the form is actually working and the user has just clicked the submit button. The submit form piece within a PDF form forces you to set the email within the PDF. And we don't want to do that. We're going to let the user set the email address by using this script. So that is how to submit form data to dynamic email addresses.